Welcome back to Brothers Fab and Adventure. Today we're going to try another way to add metallics to Rustoleum, and this is called dry flaking. Generally people use it for smaller things like motorcycle parts, helmets, skateboards, that sort of thing, and not for a whole car. So for whatever that's worth, but this should be another way to make Rustoleum metallic and skip out on a bunch of Intercoat steps. Hopefully, we'll see. Generally people will spray a wet layer of Intercoat and then dry flake, but I'm just going to try spraying a wet coat of Rustoleum and dry flaking right on top of that and then clearing over it. So basically I got these motor mounts behind me that I got cleaned up and I wanted to paint, and I didn't want to go through the full day of painting just to paint these tiny little parts. I'm just going to go ahead and throw a coat of rust reformer on these, kind of like a primer layer, because they were a little rusty and had some nooks and crannies I couldn't completely get sanded clean. So it's time for another coat. I'm going to do half of them black and half of them blue so we can kind of compare the difference. Oh, there's going to be some overspray. Yeah, perfect kind of thing to experiment on. Because if it looks awful, probably will hardly ever see it. Made this dry flake gun for basically nothing using an old flake container. I made 2 holes in it and I hot glue gunned a pen and a pressure regulator onto it so I can hook an airline to it. Pretty simple. This is going to be the final coat of paint before I add the flake and then the clear. I'm going to go ahead and put this on a little bit heavy so that the flake has something to stick to. And it's actually pearl and flake mixed together in that dry flake gun. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and flake it now, and then I'm going to do the blue so it doesn't have time to dry. Dried pretty quick. I might have to dry flake it again a little bit more when I do the clear coat to get even coverage, I'm thinking, but we'll see what happens. So the blue doesn't seem to dry quite as fast. Hopefully it'll work a little better.
Overall, it's definitely different, and I like this better. Dry flake definitely does not work as good as putting it in the Intercoat.
Yeah, just like our other experiment, it seems like. You know, with practice, you could probably get pretty good at it, and obviously maybe a less makeshift dry flake gun. So I might do another dry flake layer when I add the clear and then clear over it, just so that we can get 2 layers and maybe a little more coverage, and it may look a little better. Now we're going to go ahead and do our SpeedoKote 2K clear, and I'm going to go ahead and dry flake that as well to try to get more even coverage. It's worth mentioning this stuff has isocyanates and you don't want to breathe it, so spray it outside in a well ventilated area or whatever. Put on a mask for sure.
Now, since the clear coat dries slower, we're going to do another coat of the dry flake and see how that works.
Oh, holy moly. Bring it way down. A little down. A little left.
Make it nice and thick so we can get the dry flake to settle in there a little bit. So that'll be it for the flake, and then we'll do another 2 coats of clear or so to seal it up, and then it'll be done.
I'm painting some other parts today, so I figured why not take the opportunity and try dry flaking again. So we'll see how it goes. Maybe it'll be a little better than the first time since I've got a little experience now. So this time I'm using blue mixed with a green pearl and green flake. So it'll be a mystery how it turns out. I'm gonna put the coats on pretty heavy to try to give the pearl and flake something to stick to. So. Like dripping off the bottom. Kind of dried out before we got our air pressure set right here.
I mean, it still seemed to do something.
Yeah.
It is definitely a different color.
Yeah, it's kind of minty. Apparently I didn't get that corner very wet. It's more interesting when you shake the can up, I guess. It's still really hard to get perfectly consistent, it seems like, but I'm gonna finish this thing out. Just like last time, I'm gonna clear over top of these and give it another dry flake round to try to make sure it has even coverage. And I'm probably gonna add a little more green flake to the mix over everything else this time, so.
There's definitely some light spots.
Yeah, it's
I don't know if it'll.
It's definitely hard to get perfectly even coverage. It dries so fast. For whatever reason, it does seem that the clear doesn't dry quite as fast as the Rustoleum does. So.
Got skinned over really fast.
Just finished putting the clear on. This experiment went a lot better than our previous experiment. It actually works to dry flake, pearl, and flake on these on top of Rustoleum as opposed to mixing it straight into it. Definitely harder to get fully even coverage doing it as a dry flake as opposed to mixing it into Intercoat and doing a wet spray like we usually do. So as a result, we had to spray some clear and do a second pass to try to get full even coverage on these. But
a couple little differences in our pieces here. This one we did a black base and this one we did a blue base. They're both fairly similar. This one with the black base pops a lot more. You can see it sparkly and everything a lot more than this. And also this one will be more like black when it's really dark.
Yeah, whereas this one will stay pretty blue when it's really dark. So sometimes if you don't really want to have a black car, maybe having a black base isn't the best, but it does pop really good.
Yeah. Overall, I think it came out really good.
Yeah, I would generally stick to pretty small and pretty flat parts if you're going to try this, because it's hard to keep the paint wet enough to get the flake to stick and get even coverage before it's too dry. It does work, so yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this and learned something.
Because we definitely learned something.
Yeah.
But that'll be it for this time. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.
Until next time on Brothers Fab and Adventure.